Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wiki Reading. Today I will be reading about Khepri. Khepri, also transliterated Khepera, Khepr, Khepra, or Khepri spelled with CH, is a scarab-faced god in ancient Egyptian religion who represents the rising or morning sun. By extension, he can also represent creation and the renewal of life. The name Khepri appeared in the pyramid texts and usually included the scarab hieroglyph as a determinative or ideogram, as a potential means to make any allusions to the god clear. Khepri is also mentioned in the Amduat, as the god is intrinsically linked to the cycle of the sun and Ra's nightly journey through the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. Khepri is derived from the Egyptian language verb khepr, meaning to develop or create. Khepri can also be spelled Khepr, which is the Egyptian term used to denote the sun god, the scarab beetle, and the verbs to come into existence or to be born. The god was connected to and often depicted as a scarab beetle. Scarab beetles lay their eggs within dung balls, and as a result, young beetles emerge from the balls fully formed, having eaten their way out of the mounds. This caused ancient Egyptians to believe that these insects were created from nothingness. They also believed that each day the sun was reborn or created from nothing, thus explaining the connection made between the sun and the scarab. In hour 12 of the Amduat, a newly reborn Khepri helms the solar bark that pushes the sun, moving the morning sun across the early day sky. This mirrors the manner in which a scarab beetle pushes large balls of dung along the ground, highlighting the relationship made between Khepri and the insects. Scarab-shaped accessories were common in ancient Egypt, as rings or amulets meant to be attached to necklaces were often fashioned in the shape of these insects. Such objects that depicted scarabs were often handed out to the Egyptian people during public festivals, with them wearing the amulets to bring good fortune, to express their devotion to the king or the gods, or to have the scarabs act as protective charms. These scarab idols, whether they were made of faience or an amalgamated material composed of common minerals like quartz and alkaline salts that was cheap to produce, or turquoise, a rare and highly sought-after stone, were often colored blue, which signifies that the color might have been significant in its relation to the gods. The color had a variety of meanings to the ancient Egyptians. Blue could have represented the sky or the heavens, the primordial flood, which also suggests that the color symbolized a cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Fertility was another characteristic potentially represented by the color blue, as the Nile River was often highlighted by the color. While it is impossible to assume that the blue scarabs depicted in Egyptian art were meant to represent both Khepri and the traits of the color, the correlation between the divine symbolism of the beetle and meaning of the color blue is unlikely to be a mere coincidence. Khepri was a solar deity, and thus connected to the rising sun and the mythical creation of the world. The god and the scarab beetle represented creation and rebirth. There was no cult devoted to Khepri, as he was seen as a manifestation of the more prominent solar deity Ra. The scarab god was, however, included in the creationist theory of Heliopolis and later Thebes. Often Khepri and another solar deity, Atum, were seen as aspects of Ra. Khepri represented the morning sun, Ra was the midday sun, and Atum represented the evening sun. As a deity, Khepri's four main functions were creator, protector, sun god, and the god of resurrection. The central belief surrounding Khepri was the god's ability to renew life. In the same way, he restored the sun's existence every morning. Mummified scarab beetles and scarab amulets have been found in pre-dynastic graves, suggesting that Khepri was respected early on in the history of ancient Egypt. Khepri's most important role in ancient Egyptian religion is the integral part he plays in the life and death cycle of the sun. There are three major funerary texts in which Khepri makes an appearance: the Amduat, the Book of Caverns, and the Book of Gates. Each text is similar in that the lifeless corpse of Khepri is conjoined with the soul of Ra at some point during the god's journey through the underworld. In fact, the Book of Gates and the Amduat have been noted to be very similar. with the only significant difference between the two funerary texts being that the Amduat focuses more on the journey Ra takes through the underworld, whereas the Book of Gates focuses more on the journey a human soul takes to follow the solar god. Khepri's corpse is reached in both texts in the 6th hour of the night, and he leads the solar bark out of the underworld in both stories as well. The Book of Caverns is unique among these funerary texts in that it is not divided into hours as the other two are. Rather, it is broken up into tableaus. Regardless of this difference, Khepri's corpse is still depicted within the underworld, appearing in the 3rd tableau instead of the 6th hour. The Amduat is the nightly journey Ra, and by proxy the sun, takes through the underworld, as he is exhausted and aged from his day's work of moving the solar bark across the sky. Through this voyage across the underworld, both the Ra and the sun are reborn, as the god takes the form of Khepri, who leads the sun across the sky during the morning. There are 2 hours of the Amduat that Khepri is involved. Hour 6 sees the solar bark of Ra reach the primordial waters of Nun, in which rests the corpse of Khepri surrounded by an enormous multi-headed snake. It is unclear how Khepri died, and how a serpent with 5 heads came to guard his corpse. Nevertheless, the Ba, or soul, of Ra combines itself with Khepri's body, thus resurrecting the solar god. Khepri is not explicitly mentioned again within the Amduat until the 12th hour, the last hour as the sun begins its ascent back into the sky. In this hour, Khepri is at the helm of the solar bark, leading the vessel out of the underworld and, with the help of Shu, the god of air and winds, back into the sky, so that sun may once again bathe the world in its light. Khepri plays a vital role in this journey as he is the one who guides the sun through the last leg of its voyage through the underworld and ushers in the dawn of a new day as the god of the morning sun. Khepri was depicted as either a scarab holding aloft the sun disk or as a human male with a scarab for a head. The scarab amulets that the Egyptians used as jewelry and as seals allude to Khepri and the newborn sun. The beetle carvings became so common that excavators have found them throughout the Mediterranean.